Hello friends, we'll be discussing the journal entries that we're supposed to pass in the books of Lessor now. So in the previous video, as we have learned, what are the journal entries that we have to pass in the books of Lessee. Similarly, we have certain journal entries that we have to pass in the books of Lessor as well. Now, these will be corresponding journal entries that we have already passed in the books of Lessee, and accordingly, we have to pass certain entries here. So let's figure out what exactly we have to pass out here and how it is supposed to be done. So the first entry that will be passing in the books of lessee is royalty due, because this is a similar kind of entry that we had passed in the books of lessee which stated royalty payable. So similarly, if that is payable from his side to this guy, then accordingly for this guy also it is something that is receivable for him, hence royalty is due for him to receive. So let's pass that entry. So the entry that we have passed here is lessee account debit to royalty receivable. Now, this refers to the actual amount that is supposed to be received. Now, whenever we are passing this entry, the amount, or rather the amount that is supposed to be debited is the minimum rent, and the amount that is supposed to be credited is the actual royalty. Because me, if I'm supposed to receive royalty, I'll think that I'm receiving the actual royalty. So I'll be expecting in that scenario. However, I don't know whether the actual royalty is greater as compared to the minimum rent, or minimum rent is greater as compared to the actual royalty. But I'll treat like actual royalty is more as compared to the minimum rent. Hence, I'll be keeping that. Once the royalty is earned and then it is supposed to be transferred, at that time I can switch whether I need the minimum rent or I need the actual royalty. So that will be the second entry that will be passing. The next entry that we are passing is money received. So bank account will be debited by default and lessee account will be credited here, because that was the amount, or that was the account that was opened when the due entry was passed. So bank account to lessee account. Now in front of the bank account, that means the amount that is supposed to be debited is the net amount received. That means whatever shortcomings, whatever everything that was there, that will be mentioned here, and that is the net amount received. So the minimum rent is the account that is credited here, and the net amount received is the amount that is debited here. Now let's go on to the next entry here. Now the next entry that we're supposed to pass is the short working adjustment. That means short working recoup. Here, this refers to the amount that is adjusted. So the entry that has been passed here is short working allowable account debit to lessee account. That means whatever short working that we can allow, or rather that we can adjust, is what will be debited there. So the same has been mentioned down here for your reference. That means whatever adjustment amount is supposed to be mentioned has been mentioned both in the short working allowable account debit to the lessee account debit. Now let's go on to the next entry. Now the next entry that we're supposed to pass is the irrecoverable amount of short working. That means whatever entry we pass there, that refers to the lessee account where this much amount got lapsed. So that is the similar entry that will be passed here as well. So let's figure out what is the entry that is supposed to be passed. So the entry that has been passed here is profit and loss account debit to short working allowable account credit, and the amount that has lapsed is supposed to be mentioned here. So whenever we speak about lapsed entry, that refers to the entry which couldn't be paid off, or rather the amount that couldn't be given here. So that is the lapsed entry, or rather that is the lapsed amount that you have to pass here. Now let's go on transferring the actual royalty to some other account. That will be the last entry here. So the last entry refers to transfer of royalty here. That means whatever royalty you have received, you have to transfer it. So if you remember, royalty receivable was something that was opened up earlier. That means whenever we pass the due entry, this is something that we opened up. Receivable is an asset, hence it has a debit balance. Similarly, we have received it, or rather we are closing it, hence it is supposed to be credited here. So when this amount, or rather this receivable account was opened up, as it was opened, or rather the first entry that was passed related to this specific transaction where royalty receivable was credited. Now to close it, we'll debit this here. So royalty receivable account is debited to trading profit and loss. Because there is a profit, hence profit and loss account will be credited, and whatever account has to be closed will be debited there with the actual amount of royalty that has been received. And on the credit side, you can either mention trading account, profit and loss account, manufacturing account, as per the question's scenario, whether the royalty is on output or on sale. So depending on that, you have to take the decision on this. So these are the entries that we had to discuss when it comes to accounting treatment of a lessor as well. So I hope with these videos you are clarified enough about the journal entries, and now we'll be able to solve the illustrations related to these problems, or rather these journal entries. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned with Ekeeda and keep subscribing to Ekeeda.